Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is Sarah Moe. I'm the Assistant Director for the Transfer Student Center. I use she, her, and her pronouns. And I'm going to be here answering any questions you have about our current openings. So I am joined here by some of our current, and I guess former student staff, but still around. So I will let them all introduce themselves and talk about what they did in the Transfer Center.
I'll go first. Hi, everyone. My name is Matara Kimboyjo. I also go by Mo. I'm going to be a fourth year here at UCLA, so second year transfer. I'm majoring in political science, minoring in labor studies, and I work as one of the mentorship coordinators. I did that last year, and I'll also be doing that again this year.
Okay, I'll go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Parik Cholakian, pronounced she, her, hers. I graduated actually from UCLA, so I was doing physiological science major. I was also one of the mentorship program coordinators, just like Mo, and I'm so happy to be here and answering any questions you have.
Hi, everyone. My name is Herman. I use he, they, and el pronouns, and I am a rising senior studying ethnomusicology and comparative literature. So also a second year transfer like Mo. And I was a volunteer coordinator with our volunteer program in this past school year. Super excited to talk about the volunteer program with everyone.
And what are you doing this upcoming year, Herman?
I am the transfer student representative for the upcoming school year on USAC.
Congrats again. We're very excited for you. So we are going to launch right into some questions. I'm just checking really quick to make sure the live is working. It's weird when you're live, you can't always tell. And so I just messaged a friend of mine to see if she could see it, but I'm just making sure it is officially live on our page. I think so. Okay, good. So we will launch in. So just wanted to give a short overview of what it means that we're hiring, what we're looking for, and some things you might want to keep in mind if you're applying. So each year, the Transfer Student Center hires a handful of student staff to help work and run the Transfer Student Center. So there are 2 full-time folks. We typically have 1 graduate student intern who's usually a grad student in the School of Ed. This year we had the amazing Carissa, and she was working with our mentor program. And then we have usually between 8 and 10 student staff members that work as a team to really support the transfer community at UCLA. And within our broader UCLA Transfer Student Center staff, we have like 3 sub-teams that work together to make the Transfer Student Center run. So you don't have to worry a lot about those 3 teams, but if you're interested in them or you've maybe seen them in action, you might be familiar. So the 3 teams are our mentorship team, which both Mo and Palik were on this last year. Our communications team, which works with our social media, our newsletter, our website, answering emails, all these kinds of things, communication stuff. And then our volunteer program. And so we have a whole bunch of folks who are really fantastic that volunteer with the Transfer Student Center. We have some folks that serve as volunteer coordinators to really help connect those folks together as a community, help share out opportunities to volunteer at the Transfer Center. And then they also have like professional development and fun opportunities for the volunteers as well. So it's actually a really great way to be connected. So one of the things that's really unique about our team is, and you all can echo this, I think, is that we work together as a whole team, but we also work in sub-teams. So like there are things that like the mentorship team will do together, the volunteer team will do together, and the communications team will do together. But then there's also like overarching goals, missions, projects that we're all working on collectively. A question we've gotten a lot. So this last year we've been online the whole year. It's been super sad, but also we've had a great time, I think, working together. Like the team this past year has been really, really fantastic of making the best out of like working in a remote setting. That's something I'm really happy and excited about because it's been really hard, like working remotely and taking what we do in person into an online space. And so I really want to give a shout out to the team here and the folks that aren't with us today, because they have worked so hard to make the experience the best they can be for transfers in an online setting. And it hasn't been easy. We will be back in person next year. And so it's going to look quite different from how things have looked this year. So some things will be quite similar and others will be different. One of the main things, and it's my Zoom background right now, which is just sort of disappearing as I talk, is we will be in person in the Transfer Student Center. We know that most folks haven't been on campus before. And so just so you know, we're in Kirchhoff Hall. It's very centrally located. It's right next to the Student Union building where there's lots of food to eat and the bookstore, meeting rooms, stuff like that. And it's kind of right in the middle of campus, which is really fantastic. It's definitely a hangout hub for a lot of transfers to come to between classes, to maybe eat lunch, meet up with their friends. And so one of the things we do all spend time on when we're back in person is working at the front desk, which looks exactly like what's behind me. And so we answer questions, we give directions, and we just generally like help check people in or answer questions in person. So one thing I would expect is that regardless of what you're working on in the Transfer Center, people will do some hours in person in the center. We also work on large scale overarching efforts. So for example, transfer transitions, welcome week, transfer pride week, graduation, all of the admissions season panels. Were you all on an admissions panel? Yes, I believe you were. So we support these very large scale events and programs. And then we also have some smaller programs that we do for, like, for example, for the mentors, the volunteers, campaigns we do on social media to highlight transfer stories, things like that. Some skills we're looking for: teamwork, commitment to serving the transfer community, and really thinking broadly about serving all of our transfer community. So we know the transfer community is diverse and represents so many intersections of identity, and that is something we love and value. And so we want our team members to love and value that as well. We also are looking for folks that have particular passions or skills around those different areas we talked about. So if you are someone that loves working on social media, we have lots of social media things to work on. If you are someone that loves connecting people together and answering questions, we have lots of that in the volunteer and mentor program. And so I think there's a lot of like intriguing opportunities to work in the Transfer Center and to really support the transfer community. What did I leave out, y'all? What did we do that I forgot? I'm sure there's something.
Maybe I can add what the mentorship program did as like a whole team group. And a project that we tried to work on was putting together a professional development series. For example, we did, Mo, help me here if I'm forgetting something, but we did a lot of resume and cover letter, how to ask for letter of recommendations and interview tips. So we also like helped the transfer community to build their professional skills. We also do a lot of social nights, game nights, and just like connecting people from different backgrounds together so that we are stronger together.
I can add some stuff about the volunteer program. Very similar to what Palik mentioned, we did a lot of social and professional development activities in this past year, and also tried to really connect those opportunities to the leadership experiences and service work that our transfers were really doing in the virtual sense. And we had to really pivot to doing virtual volunteering in the sense that we still wanted to ensure that the transfers that were participating in our program were still contributing and giving back to our transfer community, since we couldn't necessarily be doing the same things as we would be doing in person, which we will hopefully be going back to in this upcoming year. But that consisted doing things like facilitating a lot of the Transfer Student Center's resources, such as adding closed captions to the video resources that we put out, which, by the way, if you don't know, go check out our YouTube page. There's a whole bunch of resources on there and videos that are useful for the transfer community. And we also did projects that also connected students to advocacy opportunities, as well as researching different movements that have been occurring throughout the past year and sort of connecting them to the transfer community. And we've also really been intentional about community. And I think that's one of the really amazing things about both the volunteer program and the mentorship program is that they really do allow us to have a really strong sense of community with all of our transfers across the university. And one of the things that I do want to mention about the volunteer program for the upcoming year, for those of you that might be interested in joining the program or in being coordinators, is that if you are someone who is applying to a graduate program that requires volunteering as a part of its requirements, or you're a part of a club or organization, or you have a scholarship that has volunteer hours as a part of its requirements, that you can fulfill those hours through the Transfer Student Center's volunteer program. And that's a really great way, I think, for my role in particular as a volunteer coordinator to be really, really plugged in with the volunteers, because in this role, you really do get to learn a lot of transfers who are putting in the work to support their fellow students. And then you can, take that next step of supporting them with their applications or letters of recommendation and whatnot. So it's also a really great leadership experience as well. And yeah, that's the volunteer program in a little nutshell.
Thank you. I dropped a comment in our chat. If you're watching and you have any questions, feel free to drop us questions on Facebook. If we don't get to them, we'll go back and answer them in writing or connect with you on direct message. I can give a quick plug to our social media communications team. Man, they are hard. They've been hard working this past year. You probably know, if you're watching this, that we have a very large social media following. So if you're someone that's interested in working with social media accounts in the future, marketing, publicity, anything like that, I don't even feel like I know all the words that go with it, but partially serious, partially joking. But we have definitely had some of our social media managers in the past go on to do this kind of work full time after graduating. So it is a really great opportunity to resume build and get the experience of working with a very large account. We have over 20,000 followers in our Facebook group. We have, I forgot the number. I think we're at 7K on Instagram, or 8. We have a lot, 8K on Instagram. And so if you're someone that is interested in working with management of large scale social media accounts, managing like scheduling software like Hootsuite, working on newsletters and pulling together resources to share information out, there is lots to be done. In particular, we also are super interested in folks who want to work on websites. And so if that is a passion area of yours, definitely let us know. So there are pieces on our application that ask about those particular kinds of skills, because we know that like graphic design skills, marketing skills, social media management can be quite niche. And so definitely let us know if those are things that you're interested in or have experience with. It's not required on our application. So on the other programs, they also communicate with parts of their program, but on a different kind of like scale. So just know you don't have to have those experiences or that interest to be on our team. Actually, more than half of our team works in mentorship or volunteer. So you don't have to be like super into social media. Yeah, so I'm trying to think about some commonly asked questions. I know one we've gotten is, who are we looking for? So everyone on our team is currently a transfer student. We have a mix of incoming and returning transfers. As they just shared, Mo and Armand were both new transfers on our team. Paliko's a returning transfer. I would also say that we are really, really interested in making sure that our team represents lots of facets of the UCLA community. And so if you're a commuter, make sure to let us know. If you are a non-traditional age student, we would love to have folks that represent that community on our team, and lots of other identities. So we know that like transfer students are in all of these various like identity communities. And so we want to make sure that our team is reflective of that. And so definitely let us know if that is something that pertains to you and that you're passionate about, because we are definitely like looking for folks who have those different identities to make sure that we're thinking about all the different kinds of transfer experiences as we make decisions around the center. What questions did you all have as you were applying? You all applied last year. Do you have any piece of advice for people who are considering applying or things that you wish you had known before you filled out your app?
I guess I can hit a couple of those things. I think one of my biggest questions was just like time commitment, which I know is different because we were online. And so it was something that we were all trying to figure out like once we even got hired. So my biggest thing was like, how much of a time commitment do I need to, am I going to have to be here for 5 hours? Like, I just didn't know. But obviously, like I said, we were online. So we had pretty flexible schedules, which is another thing I would say that we're pretty good at, like being flexible. At the end of the day, we're all students and everybody understands that. So don't be discouraged if you feel like, oh, I'm taking a lot of classes or I kind of want to do other things too, like still apply because you can make your schedule to your availability. And I would say a piece of advice to someone, as someone who applied as an incoming student, don't be discouraged at the fact that you are an incoming student. I was really scared that I wasn't going to get the job because I knew nothing about UCLA. Like I was just kind of applying on a whim, but like Sarah mentioned, we really want to be like representative of all the different people who are on campus, and it's really nice to have the perspective of someone who doesn't really know UCLA that well being on the team too. So don't be discouraged. Just put yourself out there and apply. I guess those are my two little things.
I will tag in that your insight, Erman and Mo, as new students was so helpful this past year, especially thinking about like being online and what it was like to come into UCLA as a new student online. It was so valuable, and like I can't thank you all enough for like being in those spaces and speaking up and saying like, this feels weird, as a new student, because like it really added a lot of depth to the work we did this year. Go ahead, Falik.
Absolutely loved what you said, Mo, because we loved having you because you gave us a lot of like input on like what are the struggles of someone, especially this year, who has just been incoming and they haven't even been on campus. It was like your input was very important to us, so we appreciate you. A question maybe I had coming to UCLA, actually like working at a transfer center, was the day-to-day routine of like working. What do you do? So maybe like my answer right now would be, for us, for example, it was checking our emails, checking the Slack, because we, as like the mentorship program team, we had the Slack for the mentor people who are like in a group. We try to connect them. So you get a lot of DMs asking you questions, and you kind of like managing that space, connecting people to each other. Also having like to use the Slack as the transfer center between our staff, like our coworkers. That also, it depends on like the project. Some weeks it would be easier on us. Some weeks it would be like we have a lot of projects going on at once. So we try to like split the work between us. If we need help, we could ask the volunteer team. We could ask the communication team. I remember asking a lot of like graphic design stuff because we're not the best people to do the graphic, whereas someone who's in the arts could help us like do the graphic. For example, everything you see on our social media, we try to help, but also have the feedback from other folks. So don't be discouraged if you're not like very good in one particular area. Your input will be beneficial for the whole big group.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that one of the questions that I had when I was applying is if there were any sort of like specific qualifications that the TSC was looking for in my application. And one of the things that I would say is that I think that our office really prioritizes like skills over like specific experiences. So if you don't necessarily have experience working in an office at a university, then that's totally okay. I would say just to, really highlight the skills that you believe you bring to the table and the type of passion and commitment that you might bring to these roles, and to really center that throughout the application process. And as you get to learn more about the Transfer Student Center as well, and to speak specifically to the volunteer and mentorship program. And this kind of ties back to what Palik mentioned about how we're constantly working together with one another. One of the things that I think has really been valuable for me to know as a staff member this year is just how much communication and collaboration is constantly going on. I am like always working with my amazing coworkers, with Palik, with Mo, and with everyone else. Constantly working with the transfer students who are volunteers and helping them and connecting them with opportunities, and in some cases mentoring them with the different opportunities that they are looking to get connected with. And then also, you know, keeping that office environment with Sarah and like other administrators that we talk with. And so that's one thing that you will definitely get out of this experience is the opportunity to really collaborate very much with a lot of really engaging transfers. And that's something that I would definitely recommend keeping in mind as you go through this process.
I love that. I think that something else, you all sort of touched on this, but something else that I think that we do well, that is maybe a reason to apply, is I think we have a really good like staff vibe. It's a fun team to be a part of. It'll get you more involved and connected to things on campus. Just by virtue of being in the center, like other offices even come into our center to do office hours and stuff. So especially being back in person, you'll get to meet a lot of people. And I think that that's a really big perk of working in the center, because it is a great way to like be connected to UCLA and kind of be in the center that is connected to so many other things. I also think that being on a team environment is always really fun too. And to be on a team made up of like fellow transfer students is such a cool opportunity that I think that is something that is extra special about our center. I'm checking to make sure we don't have any questions. Sam said she is tuning in support. She's in class right now. Thanks, Sam. We appreciate you. I'm trying to think if there's any other commonly asked questions that we should keep in mind. We do redo the schedule. So generally when we're in person, our center is open 9 to 5, Monday through Thursday, and then 9 to 2 on Fridays. We're not open on the weekends. Sometimes we have events and we'll ask people to sign up to be present on the weekends or in an evening. It's not super, super common. It's more like large scale, big events. We haven't had that this year because we've been online. We have shown up to things at funny hours, like to be on panels and stuff, but not in person. Let me think if there's anything else. We do pay people hourly. We get folks schedules, and so we help create the schedule around like your schoolwork, like Mo mentioned. I think that we're really flexible. I would say on average, most folks on the team, not everyone, but most folks probably work around 10 hours a week is pretty average. We've always had folks, there's always 1 or 2 people that work more than that, and there's always a couple of persons that work less than that, just based on availability, schedule, preference. We do have a weekly staff meeting, and then typically everyone has kind of like a team meeting for like the sub team that they're on, either a transfer, mentor, volunteer, or communications. And that's kind of how we structure our work. We use Slack for communication quite a bit. And in person, we also have this, you can sort of see it behind me on my Zoom background over my shoulder. There's this giant calendar that tracks all of our events that we're promoting. So there's both, when we go back in person, there's going to be like an in-person engagement component, and then also like attending meetings and working on projects, either in the center or on your own time. So there could be an opportunity to like work from home in the evening on social media or something like that. So I know I've seen that question. Anything else you all can think of? Okay, so we'll do one final thing and then we'll wrap up. Why do we think people should work at the Transfer Center? I'll let you all go first.
I think, without being biased, because I haven't worked anywhere else on campus, that we have one of the greatest teams ever. Like, we are all genuinely like people who are motivated, genuinely friendly. Like we enjoy the work that we're doing, and it's like such a family environment. I know people kind of say that sometimes and you don't really feel that way, but I know that I can call on Armand or Palik, even if we're not working together, and we're always going to have each other's backs. Like, that's just the kind of community that we built, which is like an amazing experience to like when you're working, you don't want to just feel like you're doing work, you want to enjoy it. So having a team of people who make it enjoyable is amazing. Also, I really love the freedom that the transfer center gives us when you're working within your teams, especially because we have a volunteer program, we have a mentorship program. We honestly, as students, can create it to be whatever we want it to be. Like, we can make the mentorship program so much different from it was last year. We can make the volunteer program. So we have like the creative reign to do what we want with the programs, which I think is not something that you always get in other jobs. You kind of have to follow a strict thing. So if you want to be able to like express your creativity and create something new and long lasting and kind of leave a legacy, this is a great team to join.
I want to say that I love what you said. I love our team, but it's important to know that we all are coming from different backgrounds. So I loved getting to know about the different things that are going on, because coming, for example, I was a non-traditional commuter, so I had these identities, but coming in this team, I got to know all of the other identities that the transfer community identifies with. So it was just amazing to get to work on a close level with the team as a whole. And also, as Sarah mentioned, like, we work with other campus partners. So it was absolutely amazing to network with a lot of like the centers, the career center, the graduate programs. We had a lot of like workshops that we did. We had a lot of guest speakers. We had a lot of folks who just came to help us. We had the volunteer team. You get to know a lot of people and you just like feel at home. And the support that you get from Sarah, from Karina, from Paulo, from all like the transfer community is very helpful. I've had bad times when I just called Sarah and she got on the phone with me. Like, the support that you get is amazing. So definitely, as Mo mentioned, it's a family. So come be part of the family.
I could not have said it better myself. I absolutely agree with everything that Palik and Mo have said. Both of you really captured it so well. Yeah, I mean, the Transfer Student Center really is a little home, a little family, super, super flexible and creative space. I just definitely want to second everything that has been said here. I know that I had the opportunity to basically create the volunteer program from scratch in this past year. And that was really amazing to put that like amount of creativity into the program. And I love how every single person in the Transfer Student Center has been someone that I've learned something from, whether that is like on the interpersonal level or from whatever they're studying or from their background. It's a place where there's just so much, connection. And I think that that's something that's really special about the transfer community. And as someone that has worked in other campus spaces, I will say that like no other space on campus for me has felt quite like the home that the TSC does. So I would say that if you want to end your workday with that like really fuzzy, warm feeling in your stomach, then you should come work for the TSC.
I love all of that. That was so nice. One of the highlights of my year was getting to see people in person, but even more so we had a picnic towards the end of the year outside, socially distanced, all the things. And seeing everyone see each other for the first time, like the number one takeaway is that Arman is much taller than people thought he was. That was the number one takeaway. But it was just so fun because like we built such strong relationships as a team, and it's so weird to not get to meet. I don't know. It's a funny vibe, but I think definitely the team environment is a huge perk. I would say if you are someone that is just loves like helping others and is super, super passionate about like specifically the transfer community and helping transfers, this is the job to apply for. Because we do get a lot of questions, and one of the things that we try really hard to do is to be a place where that people know they can come and ask questions if they're not sure where else to ask. And so we do get a lot of questions that actually aren't about things that we do. So if you're someone that's good at like problem solving and trying to find an answer for someone, or even just being willing to like sit and hear someone out as they're like, I don't know who to ask this thing to, this would be a really good fit for you. And I think that's something that everyone on our team does exceptionally well. I would say final thought, I can see that I'm getting a comment from Layla. Okay, so we might have to repost the video. I can see that it's sharing, but Layla can't see it. So I might have to reshare it. Okay, anyway, thanks, Layla. It's Layla T, we know her. And so, so one of the things is, I would say in closing is like, as you're applying, be yourself. There's not a cookie cutter person we're looking for. We're really looking for people who really care about the transfer community and really want to help and uplift the transfer community and connect people to each other and to the university. And so if that speaks to you, definitely apply. Don't feel like you need to like be a specific kind of person, but really that like just be yourself and really speak from the heart about like why you want to work in this space and why you want to work in this community. And that's like my number one piece of advice. And because we're really looking for like people who care, as cheesy as that sounds, it does make a really big difference. And so I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight and for answering these questions with me and being willing to go live on Facebook. And so thank you all so much. If you have any questions, I will also, after the fact, I will drop our email address in the chat. You're also welcome to message us on Instagram or Facebook and ask any questions you have. And we will do our best to answer those. So we hope that you apply and we hope this is helpful. Thank you so much for checking us out. And the app is due on the 31st. Someone pointed out to me, it's not a Friday, it's a Saturday. Wishful thinking that it's a Friday. Oh well. So it's due on the 31st at the end of the night, Pacific Standard Time. I think the app closes at midnight. And so we hope that you apply if you're interested. Thank you all again. Thank you all for joining me. And I will see you all soon.
Good luck, everyone.